Hi everybody and welcome to Radio Out There. It's Barry Eaton here with you once again. Well, the Cosmic Consciousness Conference is coming up in December, just before Christmas. Wonderful speakers and Steve Strong, along with Evan, who will be working with you quietly in the background, is our guest, talking about their fantastic event. We're going to set it all up. We had a lot of fun beforehand because we had some technical issues, but we finally got there. Going in and out, trying to sort this problem out. All right, let's start again. Steve, hi. Welcome to Radio Out There.
It's a pleasure to be here. We are here. Yes, no, it's good.
Masses of laughter. We were having all sorts of issues this morning. Lots and lots of fun. Steve, we haven't talked for a while, but you are off to a conference, once again, the Cosmic Consciousness Conference in December.
Yeah.
And, well, that is looming. It's not that far away, is it?
No, it's not far away at all. No.
Yeah. So we were supposed to be working on stage together in 2020, and you are going to be talking about that. So what I want to do before we start talking about 2020 and your updated version, I want to just mention that in 2020, there was the Great Conjunction. Quick bit of astrology here, all right? It was Saturn and also Jupiter, and we had a real coming together, the first of its kind in 800 years. They were so close together. Now, what happened was, it was on the solstice and at the start of Aquarius, a new paradigm for humanity to unfold. These are the notes that I said in my Zoom session. It symbolizes a breakthrough to another side, a shaft of consciousness, and the reign of a new king, Jupiter, as opposed to the old king, Saturn. So it was in one way, it was the death of the old and the beginning of the new.
Yeah.
And that is a cycle that started very, very powerfully on that day. I gave my Zoom presentation. Couldn't be there. I was in lockdown in Sydney. Now, you, in the current conference, are going to be talking about the ceremony that followed. I wanted to set that up because that was what the cosmic indication was at the time, and I gave that talk before it all happened. So now, over to you.
Right. Well, then what actually happened was that we went to the conference, and those that could attend, and we won't talk about why because that's a problem, but those who could attend originally were going to go and do a ceremony near Uluru, right? And the idea was they were going to go there, and I was going to do a ceremony at the conference centre for those not from the conference, but others who were knew about it and wanted to be involved. That seemed a good plan. But then what happened is on the day of that conjunction, at 10 o'clock, everybody at Uluru, didn't matter who they were asked to leave. And that was at 10 o'clock, and people were already there, and they were all ushered out, and the rock was closed all of that day and the next day. Now, that was because for 9 years they've been doing ceremony at Uluru. We've been told about this. And this was a major ceremony only for people who were directly involved in conducting the ceremony. It didn't matter if you were original, non-original, or any race. You weren't welcome because you would have got in the way. So they knew way back about the fact that there was a conjunction, and they also knew this conjunction began the change of this planet. So that's what took place, Barry. And of course, what we ended up doing is because everyone was kicked out of Uluru, we did a conference we did a ceremony with about 350 people in the, I think it was a football ground. And we had a view, well, we didn't have a view of Uluru, we had a view of some toilets, but behind the toilets was the rock. So what we did then is we did that ceremony. Now, at the end of it, Barry, as you know, we spent a year letting people know that this may happen, and we always said may. We weren't sure it would happen because so many things were blocking it. And I could spend 40 minutes telling you what blocked it, but we won't. We don't have the time. But at the end of the conference, I thought to myself, I knew it was successful. And I'll give you an example of something that happened there. Evan, who's, as you know, a bit crook at the moment and spent a lot of time trying to get this thing going, had his hands on the ground, on the dirt, and he could feel the vibration on the earth. It was shaking. And it was interesting, he wasn't the only person who raised his hands away from it. I saw quite a few people pull their hands up off the earth and they could see them rubbing the earth. They knew something was going on, which was good for the people there, because you ask anyone was there, they'll tell you it was legitimate. But the big question for me was, Barry, after getting people to go there, and we know we had somewhere between 15 to 20 million people around the world at that time meditating on Uluru. We know of big pagan festivals where there were 30 and 40,000 people, where they stopped the music for 30 minutes and went into meditation. It went around the planet. But the big question is, how can I prove to people after the event that it actually happened? And that's what I'll be doing with Evan on our presentation at Uluru. We will be giving concrete, definitive evidence that there was actually a ceremony that took place. And that's why Mick and Catherine asked us to open this particular conference by letting people know that we had evidence. And to give you, I can't show you now, and of course we will when we do this, to give an idea of the sort of stuff that turned up, the next day after the event, we showed everyone a picture that came from Croatia. And at 7:36, which is when 7:32 is when it all started. This happened about 4 to 5 minutes after in the other part of the world. And what it is, it's a massive column of light that basically hovers in the middle there, and there's a disc on top of it. And you can work out what the disc could be, and it goes straight into the ocean. Now, thousands upon thousands of people in Croatia saw it. And we got this through Facebook or whatever it is, and it went everywhere. In fact, it was in the news in Serbia and a couple of other surrounding places, but they didn't put it up in Croatia. And there were comments.
Or in Australia.
Yeah, or Australia, or anywhere else when it comes to that.
Yeah, that'd be right.
For me, it's like, it's not the sun, it's not this, and we all saw it. And we've spoken to other people who actually saw it at the time. Now, bearing in mind, the Hopi prophecy, which spoke of these times, said we should look to the skies for signs. So that's what we started to do. Now, the people who were there at the conference, the ones that were there, will know straight away that after we finished the conference, while I was setting the rocks up in formation, and I was asked by elders there to take the rocks there to supplement this, we had a big black cloud that came over the top of us. It was just before sunset, and it started to spit. And I thought, oh, no, here we are in the middle of the desert. It's going to rain in the middle of summer. What are the chances of that? But it didn't rain. But what was interesting, after we did the meditation, we looked back at the sky. The sun had set, and the sky was literally, the clouds had turned into every possible colour you could imagine. But right in the centre of a cloud that went from Katajuka to Uluru, it just spanned that area only. It wasn't anything else. And we got pictures of that. In the centre was this massive, deep blue patch. Now, you've got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, we've got pictures of the sun setting, and it's a greyish sort of blue, just washed out. And right up high, it's the darkest blue you'd ever seen. And what was interesting, that the Hopi said that when the ceremony begins, when the change begins, the blue kachinas will show themselves in the northern and southern hemisphere at that time. And lo and behold, we're looking at this huge blue patch. Now, we have a photograph that came from America, from Georgia, at exactly the same time in the night when the moon was out, and there's a massive blue patch there also. So the two prophecies about the northern and southern hemisphere came to fruition. And I thought to myself, well, hang on, I think we're on a roll here. Then what happens, and we'll be showing all this stuff to people, and if, by the way, if you can't go to the website, so if you can't go to the conference, you can go to our website, and all of this is there for free. We're not trying to make money out of this. We don't do that, and you know that.
Yeah.
What happened was, this other person, the husband of Sarah Dew, he wasn't there. He was driving, and he stopped. Like everyone stopped, and we're all looking at the clouds. Now, This gentleman is legally classified as being blind. He has got some vision, but it's not strong. But he tried to film it, and he did. And they filmed it. And then lo and behold, they went home that night and they had a look at it. And lo and behold, in the middle of all this, there is an object that is slowly moving across the sky at 7:32. And what is this object? It's a round, dark patch. You'll see it. And it makes its way, and guess what it's making its way towards? That blue patch. And it's going so slow. Honestly, if you were to try to measure the speed that it's in the air, it would be doing 30, 20 k's an hour. It barely moves. And what's interesting, the gentleman who filmed it filmed the clouds. He had no idea. And mind you, none of us saw it up there anyway, so we can't have a go at him. He just filmed the clouds. So you see the object for a while. Normally when you see UFOs, they try to chase the object. No, he's chasing the clouds. So we see it for a while. Then he goes. And then he comes back again a second time. He goes past and we see it again, and it's nearly at the blue patch. Then we go to the car park. And there in the car park, there's another woman there, and she's holding up a mobile phone, and I think she can see it because she's holding it still in one spot, watching this object move. Now, we had the film there, and we've got the film, and we'll show it on the day. It went for about 1 minute, 30 seconds, and on 2 occasions you can see it. But the most amazing part of this story, Barry, is we put this up, and a lot of people looked at it, and someone that has knowledge about how this all works slowed the whole thing down, and we found out there are 5 or 4 frames per second. You might know a bit about that through your work in the ABC and the news. Anyway, what happens is on the 59th and the 60th second, on the 5th frame of each second, you can see the object, but on the other 4 you can't. And that happens on the 60th second. You can see the object for 1 frame. And by the way, we've got pictures of that to show people, but not the other 4. So if someone tells me it's a plane, I would say to them, you show me a plane that can disappear for 4 or 5 frames on the 50th and 60th section and reappear. And by the way, Barry, we actually got an aviation map for 7:32 at that time. And there was only 1 plane in the whole of the Northern Territory, 400 kilometres away to the west, so it wasn't a plane. Then some doubter said, oh, it's a helicopter. You got to think about this, 350 people sitting in the desert looking at Uluru, and they're saying it's a helicopter. Surely we would have heard it. But we did research, and we do know that the last person who flew in a helicopter around there, and there is one, was from 4 to 5, and they don't fly after 5. So it wasn't a helicopter. And secondly, if it was a helicopter, it's against the law to fly above Uluru for planes or helicopters, and it did. So you put that together and you start to get a bit of a story. But that's not the main piece of evidence we've got. The clangor is coming up next. Now, when we're doing our ceremonies, as I said, in a sports field beside the toilets, and some other people just did their own private ceremony, and they took some film up, and they did this separately. And they filmed the clouds, obviously, because everyone was looking at the clouds, and they filmed Uluru. And they took their film home that night, and they looked at it, and they thought, my God, we never saw this. So thankfully, they sent it to us. And this is what happened, Barry. At 7:36, and you'll see it. If you come to Uluru, you'll see it. And by the way, we've got it on our website. You can see it there too. There is film at 7:36 of this massive explosion of white light that covers the whole sky for half a second, no longer. And it covers everything, but it does not touch the rock. So whatever that white light was, it didn't, wherever it came from, it went into the sky, it went all along the horizon, but it did not touch the rock. And we believe that's when Uluru, what the elders called the magic box within it, which we think are crystals, was activated. Because ceremony worked like this. The elders were supposed to sing the rock or the box up, but unless there was a certain number, which we were given way back at the start, of people around the world meditating on this rock, it would be like they got it into neutral. But the meditators would get it into first gear and start the procedure. Well, there weren't enough people. There were 15 to 20 million, and the number we needed was less than a million. So we exceeded that massively. So we've got this massive light that's come out of the rock. Now, they didn't see it. Now, some people might say, oh, someone took a flash from behind, because we know how the cynics will always try and dismiss this.
Oh, yeah.
If they did, then it should be bright at one part and less bright as you get to the horizon. This is a uniform white colour everywhere of the same intensity. And as the people told us, there was no star for us. And we didn't use a flash because we didn't need one, so it wasn't a flash. This was the energy of that, as you said, the conjunction was the timing. But without the elders doing the ceremony and the rest of this planet cooperating with that ceremony, and when before have 15 to 20 million people meditated on one sacred place before? And I think the answer is never. And what that did was turn the whole thing on. And then from that, what we then did is we got inundated with pictures of these amazing light shows that were coming out of the earth into the sky all over the planet. And we've got them all up. There are so many of them. All the experts eventually had to make a comment. And this is what they said. It was caused by streetlights and the crystallization in the air that then made these lights shoot up. These lights. We got pictures of these lights coming up at Perth in January, which is the middle of summer, in the middle of the day when there's no street lights and there's no crystallization in the air, but lo and behold, that's what it was. And I
don't remember street lights at Uluru either, out there on the rock. In the middle of the desert.
You've got to remember, we've got to deal with these sort of problems. Now, the Hopi also spoke of another sign, which a massive red eye would show itself in the sky. We've got it, Barry. We've got it. We've got it. And I think it's in Spain somewhere, and you can hear people in Spanish saying words that I won't say now because I'm pretty sure what they were saying was, what the F is that? And you can hear them just saying, what is this? It's a massive ball of red just floating through the sky. Now, all these things happen. I've got to be honest, on one occasion in Glasgow when it happened, when there were lights falling out everywhere, they did cover it. We've got pictures from the front page of the Glasgow Herald. And they called it something which was really interesting. They said, this is like the War of the Worlds. They nearly got it right. It was the war of the world. The world was now turning itself on and healing itself, and that crystal box, that what they called the magic box, it wasn't that, but they used that word because people need things like a ring or something to meditate on, so they gave them that. That had now activated and changed this planet forever. And what we've also got as proof, and we had a lot of it, empirical proof, as you know, I'm really keen on that. We had the readout of the Schumann resonance from a Ukraine university before Ukraine has had some issues with Russia. And lo and behold, at 7:31, the Schumann resonance, and you know what that is, was at 0.3, something like 0.32. But it's,
which is about normal.
Yeah, at 7:36, it was 32. It had increased 100-fold and stayed like that for the next 4 hours and then went back down. Now, you could say that's a coincidence, but I'd say look to the sky. Look to that blue patch. Look what that object does when it disappears and reappears. Look at the explosion of light coming out of Uluru, and you tell me all those things together are not linked. And then you've got all these, and we've got so many of them, and we put them all up to show people. And the reason we're trying to do that is because it's one thing to say there was a massive ceremony that's going to change the earth, but you need proof. We've got empirical minds, Barry, and as you know, we've all been sent to school where our spiritual mind was killed. So we're not open to that. And what became obvious to me as we looked at this, and let me give you one other example, because some people might say to you, oh, well, you know, there's a couple of planets getting in alignment. How would that affect the planet itself? Well, let me give you 3 examples of what happened around that time to prove that this was a major impact everywhere. Example number 1 is to do with Neptune. Now, Neptune, you may or may not know this, has now got 2 spots on it. And about 3 years ago, the time of this, it changed the way it rotates. It rotates in the opposite direction. It has done so ever since. And NASA reported this and says we don't understand why. Secondly, NASA also reported that around exactly the same time, I think within a couple of days, the axis of Mars moves 6 degrees, 6 inches. Now, that may not sound like much, but I've got to tell you, you've got to have a massive force to move a planet anywhere. And then the third example is on planet Earth. Now, this happened, I think, 2 weeks or 1 week after. And this is what happened. We had our largest earthquake ever measured on the planet. And it was 9.6, followed by an aftershock, and this is unusual, of 9.7. Now, where do you think that earthquake would have taken place? You might say Japan, or maybe somewhere around Krakatoa or along the San Andreas Fault. No, it did happen. It was recorded, and we got the evidence, and it happened in Antarctica.
Yeah, I read about that.
Now, all of those things happened all around or during the time of this ceremony. And the reason why Mick and Catherine asked us to speak first is to make sure that when we talk about that ceremony, because this is a follow-up to that no one allows their rational mind to get in the way and say, but I want proof. That's why we speak first. We're going to do a half-hour session. It's just going to be, here's another photograph. Here's another photograph. Look at this thing. And let me close this when we're going to show you this one too. Well, one of our elders, Auntie Minnie Mace, who I think you may know of or heard of, she told us one of the signs would be when the change is coming, because it is coming. You will see birds do things that just don't make sense. Well, we've got them. We've got 2 of them. We've got this place in America where people get out, they go to Walmart and they go outside to get in their cars, and there are literally tens of thousands of birds roosting on every car. They're just sitting there. And then we've got another picture of birds, about, I'd say, a flock of about 10,000 birds that all fall out of the sky at the same time and hit the ground, the concrete. Hundreds died. And by the way, the experts have an explanation for that. They said a hawk scared them.
All around the world.
Yeah, 10,000
flew
to the concrete. Oh my God, there's a hawk up there. Where shall we fly? This way? No. That way? No. Let's go straight down and hit the concrete, and that way we'll save ourselves. Because they have to give excuses for this stuff, because they do get snuck out for a day, as you know. Sometimes it gets into the media and then it goes. So that was caused by a hawk. So what I'm saying is that what we've got, and there's a lot more. There's a lot more of it, believe me. There was so much of it, and then we sort of cut it out. But what I'd like to close with him, and when we're talking about this, is a lot of the comments we got back from different people who went and meditated in different places. And the one that moved me the most, and I don't doubt for 1 second it was true, because people are going to say, oh, no, that can't be true. It was a lady that went out into the bush in Tasmania, right? And she wanted to meditate on Uluru like everyone else did. Sometimes it was just a couple of people. Sometimes it was 10,000. And she sat there. And as she sat there, just before the time came, she's in the bush, this cow appears from nowhere, just walks there and then sits alongside her. And at 7:32, she swears the cow started to cry. Now, I didn't even know that cows, I had to look this up first before I checked this out. That can't be right. I didn't know they cried. They do. And it started crying, weeping at 7:32, because the animals are part of this change also. They can feel it too. But here's the rub in this story, Barry, and it's a very important rub. We were told that this would take place, and I know it took place, and anyone that watches or goes to our site, if they can't come to Uluru, will see the concrete evidence. There's so much of it, I won't fit it into half an hour. But the most important part of this story is this. We were told then, and we've been told repeatedly, the Earth is going to change. The Schumann resonance is going to one day, as you know, there's been periods now for a day and a half where it's so high it can't be measured. The day will come when it will go so high, it will never drop back ever. And when that happens, every animal on this planet, bar one, is given a free ticket to ride. But there is one animal on this planet that is not guaranteed to be part of this change. And have you any idea which animal that could be, Barry?
Wouldn't be a cow, would it?
No, it's not. The cow passed on that day when it's no.
Oh, okay, all right. So I was wondering what I was crying. Yeah.
No, because it wasn't going to stay. No, it's humans. It was made clearly by.
I thought it must be. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that. Hoppy said something about this. They said when the change comes, and if you read the Blue Kachina prophecy, it's happened, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When it comes, he said one thing, that humans do not get the right to stay unless they embrace the old teachings and the old ways. Now, that doesn't mean we all have to go outside and leave our house, make a lean-to and live in the bush like original people did before we come here. That's not what it's about. It's about the fact that we made the mess. We've trashed the planet. We're responsible for the fact it's had to clean itself up. Then we have to earn the right to stay because we haven't earned it yet. And so that is what that ceremony was about. A lot of people have run around and said, and I've got to be honest, for a while we thought it was going to happen, the change would happen within 3 years. And a lot of people,
it won't.
No, a lot of people are running around right now saying it's going to happen I know one group was saying it was going to happen in July, and I rang up one of the guys and said, well, July's passed, mate. What's happened? Oh, it's going to be in August. I said, right, I'll ring you back in August. When August passes, it won't happen. The change is going to take place, but it will take place gradually. It will be decades before this final part the Hoppy speak about, when this rainbow-coloured cloud will make its way around the whole planet. That's what they talk about.
Let me say something here, Steve. I told you about the Great Conjunction, first time in 800 years at that particular place in the cosmos, and the next time it happens will be in 2080. After that, it's going to be a long time again. So we have between 2020 and 2080. So that's when I reckon it's going to gradually come in. And it will involve also dimensional change.
Yes, that's part of it. You're right, Barry. I've been told about this. Our guides have told us there are 1,000 hidden places on this planet we can't see at the moment. They will become apparent to us. Everything will change. We have been told this will be decades before the change takes place.
2080.
We say that because if people think it's 2 days from now, like it's going to be in January, or it's going to be something like that, after a couple of times they just think, didn't happen.
It's all rubbish, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It will happen. And what we have to do, and I've been told at the moment that it can't happen quicker than that because there are not enough humans on this planet at the moment that would basically transform and be part of the change. Well, it's here we're running out of time, so we better quickly finish this. Okay, you probably can't see it on your side, but we can here. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we'll be introducing. And hopefully the people who come there will become part of that change, because if they don't, their next incarnation will not be on this planet.
Oh, that's for sure. One thing before we finish, we talked about that strange things in the sky. I emceed the first 2 conferences, 2019 and January in 2020. We all went out into the desert one night, did some spotting of the sky, and there were UFOs everywhere.
Yeah.
We saw them. We saw them change angles, do all sorts of things. It was undoubted there. So they do fly over there. They've been there before, and that was definitely part of the plan.
It was part of the plan. They call Uluru the spiritual navel of this planet. And they've said, as the Hopi have said, and many others have said, including Yada Martha, the change began there at Uluru. And from radiated out to the rest of the world. And all the sacred sites have been recharged. But that's a gradual process, ladies and gentlemen. Very gradual. So, yeah.
Well, Steve, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left because of a few technical issues, but you had a couple of other things you wanted to mention.
Very quickly, I wanted to make the point that the information we got about this and the information, the confirmation that that was a UFO came from an off-world contact of Leo who works with us called Mesrev. And what I'd like to do in a couple of minutes we've got left, and we've only got a couple, is I just wanted to let people know that the aliens don't talk about if they are here. That's a ridiculous comment.
Oh, they've been here for thousands of years.
The question is why, not if. And I want to make a point here. I'm going to give you a couple of quotes from Mesrev from the time we've got left, and one that I found quite interesting, which actually relates to what we're talking about. We've been doing questions and answers with him for quite some time, right? And I know it's the real deal because of the answers he's given. And one of the questions I asked him is, why did aliens come here? I wanted to know. I said, because I can't see a point in that. And I said, what is it? Well, and he said, there's something about humans that aliens from all over the cosmos admire and wish to emulate. Well, I've been trying to ask him for quite some time what it was, because I've looked around, Barry, and I'm having some problems finding anything that we can offer them. And I asked him, I tried to trick him once because he wouldn't tell me. And I'm going to finish by telling you what the answer is first, but I thought it was a good way to finish. I tried to trick him once by saying, look, tell us something about humans that you really, really admire and something that disappoints you. And I thought that way I could find out what they're coming for and what we need to fix. And I expected a 2-sentence answer. I got one. And the answer was this. Remember, I'm asking what you admire most and what is most disappointing. Well, he gave them both the same answer. The answer was this: the innovative ways you cheat the test. And I thought to myself, yes, we're very clever. We are clever, but obviously not intelligent, because the test is for us. And when he told us about this planet, he said there are many planets at the moment that are transforming. He said, but this planet is experiencing more strife, that is the word they used, than any other planet anywhere. And he said, that's a blessing and a curse. I said, how can that be? He said, because there is so much strife here and so much chaos, your soul can progress quicker here than anywhere else in the cosmos. So to be part of this change and the way the whole world's been manipulated is actually a blessing if we embrace it. But the trick is we've got to learn how to embrace it, and that's not an easy thing to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, they have confirmed up there that this change has been done. It's done and dusted. It will happen. And like you said, and like they've said, it will not be in years, it will be in decades before the change is complete. So this is what we're going to try and let people know about when we go to that conference, and it's what we're going to keep doing as we go around the country next year, doing a series of talks in different places. So, yeah, that's what we're talking about now a lot.
Fantastic. Now, you're doing 2 appearances at the conference, opening, and on the second day, you are also closing the day with unveiling ancient anomalies.
Yes.
So 2 very, very important appearances at this year's conference.
Yeah, definitely. We're lucky because, as you know, we've got the skull of what is an alien, and we're going to use it as evidence. And we've also got metal objects that have been found, mainly in Australia, that have readouts we've got, where there are massive, sometimes 40, 50%, some 20% of metal in there that is not on the earthly periodic table. We have a lot of empirical proof to show people that what we've said is true, because here it is. This is the science. We've done the science to prove that the objects are here, prove they've been here for thousands upon tens of thousands of years, and they've been on this planet because it's special. And we don't understand that yet.
Now, just before we go, the people who want to have a look at your website, just tell us what that is.
Evan, are you around? Oh,
You've forgotten.
We've got Forgotten Origins in Our Ancient Alien. Our alien ancestry. I'm hopeless at this stuff.
Our alien ancestry, even I know that.
Which is where you'll find those articles, and we've got another one, Forgotten Origins. Is that right, Evan?
Yeah, ouralienancestry.net,
yes.
forgottenorigins.com.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for waking
That
up.
was Evan popping in for his contribution to the show.
Right at the start. It's on.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I wish I could be there, and I wish you all the very best success. We'll talk, of course, other times, but I hope the conference goes really well for you. And thanks for all our fun and games today, and all the best.
Okay, thanks a lot, Barry. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And Stephen and Evan will open the Cosmic Consciousness Conference in December. The details are on your screen right now. There's still some space available. And I'll tell you what, I've done a deal with them to get a discount for Radio Out There listeners and viewers. So there we are, special discount. When you go in on their website, which is on the screen, just quote the name Barry, B-A-R-R-Y, if there's a promo code or whatever is there. Anyway, just promote Barry and you will get a discount. And for those of you who would like to follow up a little bit more about Steve and Evan, their website, forgottenorigin.com. And that's it for this week. Thanks a lot for your company on Radio Out There. Bye now.